Welcome to the 2021 Honda CBR500R. Choose the biker that you want to be. With its aggressive looks and strong low-end power, the CBR500R frees you from all the constraints of modern day life. Honda have also designed the CBR to be an A2 license ready motorcycle. Drawn from the CBR DNA, the Honda CBR500R is every inch a CBR, which means it is one of the most sharpest tools in the Honda toolbox. Its sharp, aggressive lines incorporate unique aerodynamic winglets for high-speed stability, and the view from the forward position is pure sport. With clip-on handlebars mounted below the top yoke and a negative LCD display dash, it is just pure sports. With an innovative fuel tank design, it is carefully shaped to cut down on excess bulk, yet at the same time it delivers great, useful cruising range. The CBR features a powerful twin-cylinder engine, giving you an elastic, enjoyable power. You won't ever have to choose between a bike with lightning fast acceleration from a standing start and one that can take you on a thrilling chase through the slick 6-speed gearbox at high RPM. The Honda CBR500R gives you both. This is what Honda have designed freedom to be all about. Just like its larger CBR siblings, an assisted slipper clutch eases upshifts and prevents rear wheel lockup on hard downshifts. And to give you an even sportier ride, strong mid-range torque between 3 to 7,000 RPM makes every corner exit a moment to savour.
Hello, welcome back to Rev Solutions. Today we've got, courtesy of Southampton's Crescent Honda, the CBR500R in this amazing matte black colour. This bike starts at £6,249 on the road. There are optional extras available which will obviously increase the price. It also comes in two other colours, a red and also a white. Now this 500 CBR comes in a 471cc engine. It's liquid cooled, 4-stroke, double overhead cam, parallel twin. Now this produces 43 Newton meters at 6,500 RPM. It also has 35 kilowatts of power at 8,600 RPM, or for the likes of people like myself, that equates to 46.9 brake horsepower. So it is an A2 compliant motorcycle for those of you in the UK who need to ride an A2 compliant motorbike. The seat height on this one is 785 millimeters. It's quite a narrow seat, so when you're sitting on it, it doesn't really cause you that much of an issue. I can pretty much get my foot flat-footed wherever I go, and majority of the time it's always both feet are flat-footed. The fuel is 17.1 litre capacity. The weight of this bike is 192 kilograms, which is your average weight for a sports bike, so it's quite easy to manoeuvre about. The frame is made up of a diamond steel material. At the front of the bike, you've got a single disc, which is 320 millimeters, and a 2-piston caliper. At the rear of the bike, you've got a single disc, 240 millimeter, again, single piston caliper. The wheelbase of this bike is 1,410 millimeters. The front tyre comes in at a 120/70 and the rear is a 160/60, and they're both on a 17-inch rim, multi-spoke, made out of cast aluminium. Now this bike's styling is really nice. For a 500cc motorcycle, it's got all the looks that you want out of a really nice looking sports bike. Looking at the front of the bike, you've got nice LED headlights. They give amazing visibility in the dark. When you put your main beam on, it gives great directional visibility as well, which is really nice. So you know when you're riding around, you're not going to be struggling to see. The wind mirrors, again, they give good visibility as far as sports bikes go. You do need to bring your elbows in slightly, however, they do still give you good visibility. They pivot from the actual hinge at the front of the bike, so when you lift the wind mirrors up to get through traffic, you can put it straight back out nice and easy. As long as you get rough position right again, you haven't got to actually adjust the wind mirrors. The front of the bike, you've got your levers under the headstop, so you've got a nice low sporty position. However, that said, they are raised slightly, so you do have quite a comfortable ride position. You've got blue anodised top of the suspension forks, which is really nice, gives a nice little expensive look to the front of the bike. The actual tank design on this, I think, is really nice. Honda have given it this nice red decals here, and yeah, it just sets it off really nice with the matte black. At the rear of the bike, at the pillion area, you don't have a pillion seat on this one. It comes with a seat cowling. You've got a little bit of space underneath this just to be able to put a drink or your wallet or something there that you don't want in your pockets. So there's a tiny amount of storage there. Obviously it does come with pillion pegs, so you can put a pillion on there if you do have a pillion seat. Now, one thing I really do like about this bike is that down here you've got little Aero Fins. I don't think they're going to make much difference on the 500. However, that said, they just give the styling of this bike something really nice to look at. It just makes it look like a really nice, expensive motorcycle and a fast sports bike. So for any of you beginner motorcyclists who are on A2 motorcycle that want to experience the ride and position of a sports bike, the CBR500R from Honda is definitely one to look into. The front of the bike comes with a nice black front windscreen. It's kind of like a double bubble, so as you tuck down into the bike you do get quite a lot of wind protection from this one, so it's quite a nice design. During the day in quite direct sunlight as well, where it's dark and tinted, it does actually make reading the display really easy if the sun's in front of you. It's got LED indicators, like I just said. It's got really nice LED headlights. It's got air intakes just here either side of the headlight. The front disc looks really quite stylish as well. It looks quite sporty. So again, it's not a full-blown sports bike. It's only got just under 50 brake horsepower. However, that said, it still has all the ergonomics and all the styling that you want out of a good sports bike. So if you're riding around on this, you're going to look good if you're wanting it for that reason. Again, with another Honda motorcycle, they've put the bronze clutch casing on this one. I really like the way Honda do that. It looks really, really nice. Coming to the back of the bike, you've got your twin exit exhaust. Now, when I've actually looked at this exhaust, it looks like the top pipe is actually covered up, so it's not actually a twin exit. I think, I may be wrong here, but Honda have actually probably done that just so you haven't got a big area with nothing and a tiny little exhaust exit. So I've not actually seen that open up at all. It may open up, it might have an exhaust valve in there, but when it's stationary and turned off, that is completely closed off. So yeah, it may just be for aesthetics, but it does look quite nice having a twin exit exhaust. It sounds okay. It's a Euro 5 compliant motorcycle, so it's not going to sound amazing, but for what it is, £6,000 on the road, you can't really complain. If you are going to get this bike, let's face it, the majority of people are just going to whip that exhaust off and put something that they actually enjoy on the bike. The rear of the motorcycle tapers off really, really well. It comes to quite a sharp angle at the back. You obviously got your tail light underneath hit the rear. You've got your rear tail, which hangs just over the rear wheel, which is obviously a legal requirement for manufacturers to do. Rear LED indicators. Now, the one thing this bike doesn't have is a rear hugger. That would be really nice, just to cover that rear wheel, because it gets absolutely filthy underneath the rear of the bike. Something small, you may be able to get an aftermarket one. However, this doesn't come with it from factory. So all in all, this bike is a really nice designed 500cc motorcycle. If you haven't already, please check out Crescent Honda's website. The link is in the description below. They've got a lot of brand new motorcycles. They've also got an amazing range of Part X bikes to look at. So check out their website, pop down to Southampton, Crescent Honda, have a chat with the sales team, and hopefully there'll be a bike there that takes your fancy and they'll be able to do an amazing deal for you.
Right, so you join me on my final ride on the Honda CBR500R. I've had this bike a couple of weeks now, put a couple hundred miles on the clock, and it is now time to deliver it back to Crescent Honda. So this is my final thoughts on the bike, and I'll tell you what, when I first got this, I thought it's got potential to be a good bike. However, where it is quite a low powered motorcycle, I wasn't really holding my breath too much for it, thinking it's going to be exciting. However, that said, it is a really good bike. Now, it's only got 47 brake horsepower, which isn't a lot. However, where it weighs 192 kilograms, it moves so easily. It's got plenty of go for the road. It's a really good bike. It's got a nice amount of power. So if you're the type of person who wants to start off on a sports bike but doesn't want to go straight in at the proper sports bikes, let's say, with over 100 brake horsepower, is the CBR500R the bike for you? Definitely. The power of this bike is so manageable, it is not going to get anyone into trouble. You're not going to go into a corner so fast that you become unstuck. It's got just the right amount of power that for a beginner or someone who's, say, lost their confidence after having a crash can manage. Now let's go through parts of the bike, starting with the seating position. The seating position on this bike is very sporty. The feet are tucked back nice and far, your body's leaning forward. However, with the actual clip-ons, they are underneath the headstock, but they're raised up above the headstock. So with that together, it does keep you upright quite high, which is comfortable. Let's face it, you get a lot of sports bikes, proper sports bikes, you're down low, you're right down here a lot of the time. But with the CBR500R, it pushes you back to a nice position that I just do not find uncomfortable. I've ridden this for a good couple of hours a couple of days ago, and I did not find it achy, uncomfortable, nothing like that. It was just perfect. It's got a nice gear indicator, which is always good if you're learning how to ride a motorcycle and you want to just know what gear you're in all the time, so that's quite good. The display on this bike as well is really clear. I've got direct sunlight right behind me and I'm having no problem whatsoever reading the dials, so Honda have done it really well there, got no problem at all. And also this windscreen, where it's tinted, it kind of shades the dials as well, so if you've got sun directly in front of you, you're not going to have any issue at all, again, reading your display. Coming to a stop, the brakes are very good on this bike. It's a single disc front and rear, obviously single at the rear, but single disc at the front. Now I'm 5'7" and my feet are completely flat-footed, so short riders, you got no problem at all riding this motorcycle. Tall riders, you probably will be a bit scrunched up. Putting weight on this bike, the first gear is quite flexible. Obviously this bike is still being run in, so I can't push it too much, but yeah, there's quite a lot of scope to get moving in first gear, which is always nice. You've got to quickly jump out of first gear because it's limited. It red lines at 8,000 RPM. And there we go, up to speed limit, nice and easy. So I do rate this bike quite high. I think it is a great low powered sports bike to get you in that mindset, am I going to enjoy a sports bike? The wind mirrors give good visibility, however, like most sports bike, you've got to drag your elbows in slightly, have a look back, so there's nothing to criticise there. It is the design of the bikes, so yeah, they're good. For what they are very good. Indicators are nice and easy to get hold of. It tips in really well into corners. The handling of this bike is phenomenal. You can really throw it about and it just grips and grips. I've taken on some quite bendy, windy, fast roads and I've got no problem at all with this bike. The actual body is really slender, so when you're sitting on it, your knees are quite close together and you can really grip the tank so well that it gives you a lot of confidence being able to move your body around, and it doesn't ever feel like you're about to fly off the bike. And that's the other good thing about being a low power sports bike and a low power motorcycle. When you do want to open the throttle a little bit, you're never going to be going flying above the speed limit, ever. Well, you will, but you know what I mean. It's going to take a lot more to get you above the speed limit than it would do a high powered bike, so you've got more scope to use the bike's potential in its power. And the suspension, as I just found out, again, is really comfortable. It soaks up the shock of the road really well. It just flicks around so effortlessly. It's one of those bikes that, again, really inspires confidence when you ride it. If you want to look in the direction you're going, you look, you twist, lean on the peg and off you go. Now when you are riding it, I'm getting quite a lot of wind noise in my helmet. If I drop down here, I get absolutely nothing. That windscreen does give you so much protection. It's really well designed. but you're not going to be riding down like this all the time. You're going to be sitting up nice and high, so even though you are getting wind resistance in your helmet, it is pretty good down, like even to that level there. It cuts it down so much, but you're not going to be riding like that. However, maybe if you were to get some different clip-ons and you wanted to bring this bike down to a bit more of a sportier position, you may find yourself actually in that position a lot more. But straight out of the box, it's good. It's a good setup. I like it. I haven't taken the pillion on this bike. As you can see, it has a seat cowling, so there's nowhere for a pillion to sit, but you are going to be able to do so if you do wish to take a pillion. And let's face it, with 47 brake horsepower, this bike has got more than enough power to pull a pillion. As you know by some of my other videos, I took a Sinus 125 with 11 horsepower and a pillion, and we got 60 miles an hour, not a problem. So with a lot more brake horsepower, you are going to have no issues there at all. Selecting the gears is really easy. The clutch is nice and light. It isn't a adjustable clutch, as in you can adjust the distance of the clutch lever. However, the brake is, so you've got a fully adjustable brake lever and non-adjustable clutch on this one. But I don't really think it's going to cause much of an issue, to be honest. It's in a good position. I absolutely love the design of this bike, especially the little aero fins down the bottom. I mean, let's face it, they're probably not going to do anything for aerodynamics and downforce, but they look cool. If you buy this bike, you're not buying it to go fast, you're not buying it for its performance, you're buying it for its looks and its seating position. So I think you're gonna love it, seeing the little aero fins down there when you give it a nice clean up every now and again. It's quite a smooth throttle. There is a slight amount of play in it like that, but that's pretty much the same with all motorcycles. You've got a slight amount of play in your throttle, but yeah, it's not jerky. It is a smooth bike. Now, filtering on this bike is really easy. I've filtered through a lot of traffic recently, and if you need this bike as a commuter, again, you're not going to have any problems commuting through heavy traffic. The one thing I do need to do though when I'm commuting and just general filtering, if it is slightly tight on the distance between the cars, I do need to fold the wing mirrors in. Unfortunately, they are pretty much in the same level as most cars, so it does make it a little bit awkward, but it's not a big deal at all. Fold them in nice and easy, and you'll slip straight through all the traffic without any issues. The controls are nice and easy to locate on your near side. You've got on your index finger your flasher, your pass light. Where your thumb is, you've got your high and your low beam. Below that, you got your horn, and it is quite a large horn button, to be honest. You flick your thumb up, pretty much the first thing you're going to hit is the horn, so that's very easy to locate. And below that, you got your indicators. Nice and simple setup. On the offside, again, very basic. You got your kill switch, your hazard warning button, and your electronic engine start. Simple as that. Display, basic setup of the display. You've got your rev counter on the left with your gear indicator in the middle of that. Top in the middle of the display, you've got your time. Right in the middle, you've also got your speed, your engine temperature, your miles per gallon average. You've also got your setting button down the bottom where you can adjust your trips. So the setup of this bike is very basic. In terms of your general everyday sports bike, it's pretty much exactly what you'd find on this bike. I do think that Honda have priced this bike very respectably. £6,200. If I was in the market for an A2 motorcycle and I like this bike, I'd happily part with that money, not a problem. You're getting a good bike for that money. Now, is there anything I would change about this motorcycle, given the reign to do so? I genuinely, from factory, no. I think this bike is designed very well by Honda. However, if I bought this bike and it was my own bike, obviously I'd get a tail tidy, get that rear plate brought in nice and close to the bike. I would change the exhaust. I think the standard exhaust these days are ugly, but you're not buying the bike for the design of the exhaust. You're buying it for the motorcycle. And other than that, I really don't think there's much else you can change on this bike. It's got a good windscreen, wind mirrors are good. I mean, yeah, maybe if you don't like the design of the wind mirrors, you could change them, but for what it is a complete package of a 500cc sports bike. So if you are considering test riding the CBR500R, get on it, take it out for a ride. You will not be disappointed at all. Just ride this bike with an open mind. It's 500cc, it's 47 brake horsepower. What more do you want out of this bike? It's brilliant. To fill up the tank, I have put a maximum of about, I think it was about 15 of her finest Majesty pounds into this bike. I got about 170 miles roughly before I had to fill up again. So you do get good miles out of this bike, really good mileage. So I would definitely recommend this bike for a first time rider. You're going to ride it and you're going to love it, because I certainly have. In the time that I've had this from Honda, I've ridden this quite a lot. I would have ridden it a lot more, but thankfully in the UK we had a heat wave, and let's face it, when you ride in 30-degree heat, it is not pleasant. So there were a good couple of days where I didn't ride this bike. I missed it because I just missed its agileness and its lightness and everything about it that makes it just a fun motorcycle to get on and ride. Now when it comes to the security of this bike, it comes with Honda's integrated security system, which I'm pretty sure they put on all their motorcycles now. So if you do an insurance quote on it, make sure you tell them it's got the Honda, well, the hiss, to try and bring your quote down, especially if you're young and you're riding it. I really do like the stability of this bike. It is just really smooth. For an entry-level sports bike, Honda have done so well with designing it. The gear changes, when you change, it's bang straight into the gear, nice and firm. You can feel that you've selected that gear. I've not had any false neutrals, any missed gears on this bike. Every time I've wanted the gear, it is just popped straight into it. Now, could you take this bike on a long distance? Yeah, of course you could. You could definitely do a lot of riding on this, go all over the country. Obviously you want to stretch out every now and again like you do on all bikes, and be it that you are a little bit further forward, you're going to want those brakes here and there, but you're definitely going to be able to put some miles under your belt with this bike. It's got more than enough power on the motorway as well. It really does do well on the motorway. You can get onto motorway speeds, not a problem. Doesn't struggle at all. So here we are back at Crescent Honda in Southampton. Check out their website in the description below, and you will not be disappointed with the range of bikes that Honda have to offer you.
Thank you for watching this edition of Rev Solutions in relation to the Honda CBR500R. Please give us a big thumbs up if you like the video, and until next time, ride safe and we'll see you soon.